Good morning, everyone. My name is Dylan Adams. I am on the cost reporting team here with some of my colleagues who are on the screen. We have Christina, Matt, and Colleen. We are here today to show off the CFSS cost reporting system. Before we dive into that, I'm going to give a presentation, a PowerPoint presentation. Copies of the presentation will be made available after this demonstration, along with a recording of this, all of this. Before we get started, I just wanted to give a little bit of housekeeping notes. First of all, please throw any questions that you might have throughout the presentation into the Q&A function. We can't bring you off mute and take questions, unfortunately, but we can absolutely answer any of your questions in that chat. And one of us will be sure to do so throughout this time that we're together this morning. Additionally, we are going to present our email address multiple times throughout the presentation. Be sure to email us with any and all questions that you might have, especially if you have a really particular question today to your business that may not apply to others. We'll ask you to just email us in the Q&A if we can't really answer or address your question fully. Other than that, our email address is dhs.costreport@state.mn.us. I'll be sure to have it up on the screen, and I encourage my coworkers to throw it into the chat or the Q&A whenever we answer applicable questions. Without further ado, let me share my presentation here. Okay. So you are here today to see our final demonstration of the CFSS cost reporting system ahead of the August 1st deadline, or excuse me, September 1st, August 31st deadline. My name is Dylan. I am the data and compliance lead for this team. I am a blonde-haired white male in his 30s. I am in my apartment working remotely, but I have a virtual background on. I'm going to go through a 15-minute or so presentation to just introduce cost reporting as an overall concept, and then we'll get into the actual system itself. There we go. So let's talk about what cost reporting is. All organizations that provide agency model CFSS services will be required at some point to do cost reporting. Cost reporting, the intent of this is to gather data on what costs are actually incurred by CFSS providers. This is going to ultimately help the legislature to set rates for CFSS services and PCA services as they get phased out. And the ongoing collection of this data will help with setting the exact kinds of components of CFSS rate frameworks. And trust me here that you want to participate in this and you want to report all of your applicable costs because that helps the legislature to set the right kind of balance of funding where we're making sure that you are all adequately able to provide the services that you do while not promoting any kind of waste funding as well. So cost reporting is not an individual look at your business. It's not an audit. The entire point of this is to collect data on an aggregate industry-wide level. On the screen here, it says that we'll sample roughly 250 providers per year. That will be the case probably going forward, but in this first year of cost reporting for CFSS services, we're only doing about 80 providers. The reason is that we wanted to have a smaller sample size for the very first year of CFSS cost reporting, and we could give adequate attention and support to all of you who are participating. Please note, again, that cost reporting is not an individual look at your particular business. It is not a way to immediately set rates. DHS cannot change the rates for CFSS services. All of that happens at the legislature. We are tasked by the legislature to only collect data and provide them with analysis on the responses that we get from you all. And we can only provide them on an aggregate level. We are not supposed to be providing individual cost data at all. It's supposed to be again, an aggregate display of all data. There is going to be an auditing component of cost reporting, but it is, again, not an audit of your business. The auditing component, I'll explain later, it's mostly just to verify that the costs that you enter can be backed up by financial documentation, typically like a general ledger, invoices, that kind of thing. So why cost reporting? Cost reporting has been around as a concept for a few years now. You may have heard that the disability waiver rate system has its own cost reporting. And in fact, some of you businesses on this call may have had to do DWRS cost reporting in the past if you provide disability waiver services. Based on the data that we were collecting from DWRS cost reporting, the legislature wanted to gain the same kind of information from CFSS and PCA services. The idea, again, was to appropriately fund these services and strike that perfect balance of we're paying enough money to keep all of these businesses afloat and help them to thrive, while at the same time not excessively spending and encouraging any kind of waste throughout the system. So finding that right balance. As part of cost reporting, we will be asking about all the typical business costs that a CFSS provider would have. First and foremost, we are interested to learn about what you are paying for your staffs, both in terms of wages and their benefits, any kind of payroll taxes and required benefits as well. In addition, we'll be asking about business facility costs, any kind of costs related to the programming that you do. We do also collect information on transportation if that is a part of your typical costs. I don't believe that transportation is a part of the actual CFSS frameworks, but this is something that the legislature wants to know if it's being provided. And then there are also just kind of administrative costs that any CFSS or any business in general might have, such as like technology costs, office supplies, licensing fees that you all pay, etc. You have the ability to report costs that are perhaps only a little bit related to CFSS. We just typically ask that you allocate those costs to how much they apply to CFSS services. So for example, if you have one facility and you do disability, aging, and PCA/CFSS services, and they're all housed in that one building, you would allocate the building costs amongst those services, and we will specifically be asking about like how much of that particular cost might apply to CFSS. We'll explain allocations a little bit more later. When you are going through the CFSS cost reporting process, we ask that you use your official bookkeeping records. These would be like most specifically your general ledger. We like to remind people of this. Our team has worked with the DWRS provider since about 2021. And we've discovered that a lot of smaller providers in that world don't keep the best records of their financial transactions. That hasn't necessarily been as much of a concern with the CFSS providers, but we still like to give this kind of note up front. Please be tracking your costs if you do not do so already, and track them in a really standardized way. For example, we do recommend just like simple payroll and financial tracking software, TurboTax stuff, things like that. Any kind of way that you can track your payments, we recommend that you do so. When doing cost reporting, if for some reason you don't have an up-to-date general ledger or a very accurate one, you could absolutely use your invoices, bank statements, credit card statements, any types of receipts that you might have, things of that nature, just documentation that ultimately informs what your costs are. There's also a segment of the cost report in which we ask you to report your revenues over the time period that you're reporting. If you do not track your revenues separately, first of all, I recommend that you do, just in case the minute system ever goes down. But you can refer back to the minute system on your remittance payment notifications to look into what revenues you gained from CFSS during the time period. So what does the reporting process look like? So we should have notified your organization by March 31st. Over the past couple of years, we asked that CFSS providers relay to us their authorized agents. So your authorized agent on file should have received an email with login credentials and a notification that your organization was required to do CFSS cost reporting. Going forward, we're going to do about a third of providers every year, and we'll randomly select those providers. Again, this year we're only doing about 80 providers just to keep it really, really small, and so that we could be really responsive to any questions that you all have in the first year of this. So providers are required to report a full year's worth of data. Most providers will do the calendar year that's most recently completed. So if we're reporting here in 2025, most organizations will report all their costs and revenues for 2024. If you have a fiscal year that you'd prefer to use rather than a calendar year, that is absolutely okay. Just please note that due to some quirks in the statute, we can only accept a fiscal year that ended no later than 18 months prior to when you submit. If that sounds a little confusing, it can sometimes be a little bit difficult to track that, but just know that if you your most recently completed fiscal year will probably suffice. And if you have any issues with this, please reach out to us via the email that I've mentioned before. We'll be happy to walk you through what the kind of timing issue is. So we ask that all providers complete their cost report by August 31st. That is at the end of this month. The stop payment deadline is not August 31st. We are required to stop payments to all providers who do not submit a cost report by December 1st, if they had been selected to report. So to be compliant with our requirements, you do have to do the cost report by August 31st. If you do not submit your cost report by then, you'll be out of compliance. And once per month from September, October, and November, we will send you an email reminding you that you have this requirement. If you choose to ignore those emails and do not submit a cost report during that period of time, we will then issue a stop payment notice to you and halt your payments. It's an automatic process. There's no getting around it. So please note the deadlines that I've highlighted here. I'd like to now kind of go into how we do allocations and kind of explain this concept because not every business might be super familiar with it. It's an area that confuses a lot of folks that we've noticed. So we like to dedicate a little bit of time just to explain this as a concept. So on your screen here, there's an image of a few different costs, but you can see that the costs which are reflected by colored boxes, but you can see that the colored boxes might apply to different cost categories. So there's a grid on the screen that shows costs 1, 2, and 3, and then cost 1 is split amongst 3 different columns. So let's say that cost number 1 is a computer. You might use that computer to when your staff go to serve a person with CFSS services. They might be using that computer to take notes related to serving that person, but also that computer, let's say it's a laptop for the sake of convenience, let's say that computer is later used by staff at your company to do other kinds of tasks, say like bookkeeping or responding to state emails from us, that kind of thing. So in that case, you might have for cost number 1, a computer, and the cost of that computer might apply to both the PCA/CFSS Services Administration, so your bookkeeping, all of those tasks, but it also might apply to direct care because you're using that to track like the notes about serving the person right in front of you. And if your organization provides other home and community-based services, perhaps you would allocate the cost of that computer for those as well. What I'm trying to get at is you might have a variety of business costs. Those business costs might apply to various areas of your business. And for accurate record keeping, we have this option to report a single cost and then split it amongst different categories. Some businesses choose to just allocate 100% of a cost to, for example, direct care or just like specific areas. That is an option for you as well. but we do include the flexibility in the system to kind of split how costs apply to different areas. And we'll explain that more in the demo as well, but we wanted to introduce the concept here. Here is our annual reporting schedule, by the way. Up at the top, again, we notified providers by March 31st that they had to report. We then sent a 90-day notice of the reporting deadline on June 1st. Just a few days ago, we sent an August 1st reminder saying that you had 30 days to report. Again, our deadline is the end of this month. By August 31st, we need your cost report. If you do not give us that cost report on September 1st, we send out a first notice of noncompliance. And then we continue to send out notices at the first of each month on October 1st and then November 1st to continue to remind you that you have to do your cost report. And again, if we have not received your cost report by December 1st of this year, we will notify you that we are stopping payments until you comply with the requirement of submitting that. We send out all of these notices to the authorized agent on file within the MPSE portal, which your organizations had previously done. Going forward, because authorized agents are more of a concept in disability waiver services and less in PCA and CFSS services, in the future, we will be contacting providers by either their authorized agent if they have one on file, or I believe it's their managing employee. The main point person that is indicated in the MPSE portal as being the contact for that business to the state. So just know that in the future, we may not just pull straight from authorized agents. We might include other folks if one's not available. Is it your year to report? Again, we contacted authorized agents. They should have received an email back in March. If you are still unsure if it's your year to report, though, please do not hesitate to reach out to us at dhs.costreport@state.mn.us. So this is the first time I'm putting this email up on the screen for you all to see. Please write it down. And again, don't hesitate to reach out to us for any reason at all. We are happy to address your concerns. I just like to give a little bit of warning, by the way, for folks who do email us. Normally, we respond same day to any email that we get, but we are in August now. Our team is pretty much the folks that you see on here. So we have about 3.5 employees dedicated to cost reporting throughout the year. And August is our kind of crunch times. A lot of different providers submit their reports. So we just recommend that you give us up to like 3 business days in August to reply to your message. Chances are we will get back to that message same day. Just know that it might take a little bit longer this month. Okay, let's continue on with the presentation. I've still have that email up one more time. It's up there. Please do not hesitate to reach out to us. Again, it's dhs.costreport@state.mn.us. This presentation I mentioned earlier. This presentation will be included in an archive after the fact, including like the whole recording of this demonstration. So you'll have the ability to access this presentation that I'm giving you now, as well as watching a video of us go through everything. So in case you haven't looked at our resources, you can access them in the presentation that we'll post up later. But please note that you can Google or do an internet search for any of these resources up on the screen. So we have an overview website for CFSS cost reporting. We have a website on frequently asked questions about cost reporting. We have also an instructional manual that will go through every single page in pretty granular detail about the things on each page. Highly recommend that you refer to that as you go through your cost report. We can also provide you a list of PCA and CFSS services, as well as their HCPC codes, to confirm that if you provide that particular service, that it's a part of what we're kind of looking for. And we also have other resources available, such as like a cost tracking sheet if you don't currently track your costs. We don't have a link available for our archive of demonstrations in this presentation. We will be sure to include that in the chat at some point today, I'm sure, and as well as like a summary message after this demonstration. We'll be sure to make sure that you have the ability to go into our archive and see any of our previous presentations, including this one. I did tell you up at the top that there's an auditing component to cost reporting. So please let me allay your fears. We do a handful of audits of cost reports every year. We will randomly select the provider reports that will be involved with that. Our team will then reach out to your authorized agent or person that's kind of mentioned in the cost report and explain like what kind of information our auditors are looking for. Typically, this is just like copies of your general ledger and any documentation that you use to inform you as you go through your cost report. This is not a full audit of your business. It is we're not going to be looking at like the mandatory trainings that you all have done or gosh, any kind of other compliance aspects that you might typically need to do for like licensing. This is purely just looking at the documents that you submit, or excuse me, that you use to submit your report. And we'll be sure to work with you to figure all of this out and explain the process. Okay, just in general, tips for successful audits. We do want to include this just as an FYI. Be sure to use your payroll or accounting software, any type of standard invoices you might receive. If you have a standard methodology for allocating costs, for example, a lot of businesses will allocate costs based on, like, for example, the revenues that they get. So if your business does CFSS services, but also aging services, let's say that aging services is like 90% of your business, your revenues, and 10% comes from CFSS. You might want to consider allocating your costs like 90% to all other services, but 10% to CFSS. It just kind of depends on your particular business. We just recommend that you are consistent with how you allocate your costs and that you can explain it. There are fields in your cost report to explain that. Just make sure that you have that kind of tracked and ready to explain if your cost report is ever audited. And yes, please just keep good records. That's really the main point here. We've included some more resource links on this final page. Just please note again that you can Google anything related to CFSS cost reporting. A lot of our websites will come up. I highly recommend that you just check all of them out. And if you are curious about the statutes, this is actually technically not quite correct. It should be 256B.851, subdivision 8. But you can refer to the Minnesota statutes that govern this whole program. And with that, folks, I am going to stop sharing my screen and presenting, and I'm going to hand this off to my team, who will then show a demonstration of the actual system. So thank you, and I will be answering your questions in the Q&A if you have them.
That's me next. So hello, everyone. My name's Colleen. I use she, her pronouns. I'm a white female. I have lighter brown hair, blue eyes, and the same virtual background here that Dylan has. So I'm going to start sharing my screen, and we can walk through the first part of the cost reporting system itself here. So please stop me, Dylan, if you can't see this. Okay.
We can see it. You're good.
Great. So what we're looking at, like Dylan had mentioned, all of the initial authorized agents would have been contacted back in March with login information to the cost reporting system. In that, you would have a link to the portal, and this is what it would look like. Here, you would enter the username assigned. Typically, for almost everyone, it will be your email address. Some users have their FEIN dot their email address. So that's your username. And then in those initial emails, everyone would have received a first initial temporary password. We do recommend you copy and paste that. Sometimes, O's and zeros look a little bit similar. So copying and pasting is typically the best route to go. Enter that in here and click login, and you'll be prompted to change that password the first time you log in. If you ever forget what you changed your password to, there is a handy link on this page as well, forgot your password. You can always click here. It'll ask for whatever security question you had set up for yourself so you can change your own password. You can also always email us if you have issues logging in. Sometimes those passwords expire. We can always conduct an account reset for you as well. Again, just send us an email. I put the email in one of the chat questions already. It's dhs.costreport@state.mn.us. So once you log in here, you will be taken to, oh, and I am logged out already. So 1 second here, get my page pulled up. Okay, so the login page, we'll need to log in. And I need, Dylan, do you have that link? I might have it. Apologies here. Okay, so once you log in, you'll be taken here to your cost reporting dashboard. Thank you. In the dashboard, you'll have a lot of basic information here. What is the CFSS/PCA cost reporting program? We also include on this page a link to that instruction manual Dylan had referenced. This manual is pretty helpful. It'll walk page by page of what to expect throughout the system. Scrolling down on the dashboard here, you'll have 3 different options: reports not started, reports in progress, and reports submitted. You all will only see 1 report, not 4 like I have here. When you log in for the first time, your report will be listed under reports not started. Once you start going in there editing things, if you ever exit the program and come back to it at a later time, that report will automatically move down into reports in progress. And then once you submit your report, it will go down here into the reports submitted section. A few things to note about submitting your report. Once it's been submitted, you can come back in here and click on it and view the report. You just will no longer be able to edit the report. So if for whatever reason you've submitted and you need to make changes, send us an email and we can come back in here and move it back into the in progress position. I also want to note really quick, and we'll come back to this as well at the end of showing the system, only that authorized agent account will have the option to submit the report. All other accounts, if you add users into the system, they can edit things, but they'll not be able to submit the report at the end. So it's only that initial authorized agent account that can actually submit the reports. And again, we'll go through that in more details in a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to click into the report here, show you the first page. In this report, you will see on every page a light blue box up at the top here, and it will tell you what page of the report you are on. So first page you're taken to is the contact information page. In this blue box, you will have a description of what is on the page and what expected of you. And then there is also a link to the corresponding page within the instruction manual. So if you have questions on the page you're on, you can click on this link and it will take you directly to the page within the instruction manual talking about what you're needing to enter. Okay, so contact information page, this is an optional page because your authorized agent information will already be pre-filled. The only reason you would need to enter more information onto this page is if you had someone you wanted to create an additional user account for. So this could be someone that maybe it's your accountant that's going to help you create the report and put in all of that information for you. In that case, maybe you want to create their own account so they can go in at their own time, have their own username and login. So in that situation, you could add them in. I'm going to do an example here so you can see how to enter information. So say I'm adding that accountant as a cost report preparer. We'll add them in as the accountant. This actually might not work. Test. And I do just want to show, once you hit create new contact, that information should populate below here. However, sometimes you might get an error like what is showing on this screen right now. And this would happen if the person you're adding into the system already has an account with us. That happens if, maybe this is a consultant, they're working with multiple providers or agencies, or maybe you have multiple businesses and you're trying to add the same person in here. That's okay. You will get this error. And if that's the case, just send us an email and we can internally on our end get them added into the system. So I did just want to show you this error. It's okay. Like I said, if you get this, just email us and we'll get that person added in right away. So down here, you'll have a save button and a save and next. It's always important to save your work. So just want to call that out. And I'll move on to the next page here, which is provider information. Again, up top, you have the blue box describing the page, along with that link to the instruction manual. Specifically, it will take you to the provider information page within the instruction manual. So on this page, you'll have to enter some basic information about your business. So you will need to put in annual unique recipients. That would be the number of individuals receiving CFSS or PCA agency model services throughout the entire year you're reporting on. So in my example, I put 4. How many years has your business been in operation? What is your business structure? Are you for-profit, nonprofit, or a government entity? And then the cost report to and from fields. This is that date range Dylan had mentioned that needs to be 1 full year of information. For most providers, the easiest way is to just report your previously completed fiscal year. So in this example, January 1st, 2024 through December 31st, 2024. And then last on this page is your NPI numbers. You will want to report on all of your NPIs associated under the single FEIN that was selected to do cost reporting. So if you have multiple NPI numbers, click this add button and you can add in any other additional NPI numbers. Again, save your work, save and close. And then scrolling down, there's a few additional supplemental questions that we would love to have your answers to. And it's very self-explanatory here. So do you provide FMS services for self-direction program? Yes or no? The answers to these questions also will affect further pages down the road. So if I select no here, it might eliminate certain pages down the road. If I select yes, just wanted to give that little bit of information here. If you're confused on any of these questions, this little question mark, if you scroll over it, will give you a little helpful hint about what you're looking for. So in this example, what is a FMS? Organizations contracted with the state to provide to people who self-direct their services. Next question, how many employees do you have, full-time and part-time? Do you offer benefits? Yes or no? Do you select yes? This drop-down will become available and you can select the different benefits that you offer to your employees. And then the last cost, do you use the no cost EVV system option from HHAX? Yes or no? Again, save your work. Going to hit save and next. And that will take us to the first big page of the report here, which is the revenues page. Again, up top here is the blue box describing the page, along with a link to the instruction manual. We've also included a link to this handy page, how to read your remittance forms from DHS. And then I do want to call out one other thing here, and that's this dark blue notes button up at the top right-hand corner of the page. You can add us a note anytime there's something you want to go into further detail, ask us about, tell us about what you're entering into the page. We see these notes and we do look through them. So if there's anything that like maybe is a little confusing in your report, like maybe they won't understand this revenue, put in a note and we'll be able to see that. Again, just make sure you save your note. Okay, so for revenues here, the first box here is program service type. And this is where you're going to select, are you reporting a PCA service or a CFSS service? Depending on what you select here, you'll have different service code options. So when I select CFSS, I will get the CFSS service options listed here. So in my example, let's say we're just doing the first one here. Next up will be the annual service revenues. Again, the little question mark gives you a helpful hint. So this is the annual service revenue, meaning the sum total of the revenues that you've received for a service. We are not looking for a rate. We're not looking for a monthly amount. We're looking for the full year of that reporting year you're reporting on for this particular service. So in my example, I'll just put $100,000 here. Now we are also looking for your exact amounts. This obviously is an example, very rounded figures here. We would like the exact amounts because again, if your report is ever audited, we do want to have that backing documentation supporting the information you're putting into the system here. So again, example here, how many annual units is this? 100,000. We'll just put in a basic number here. And then annual recipients. How many people were served with this particular service and units that you're reporting on? In the middle of the page here, you'll see the blue button, Create New Revenue. So once I'm done entering this, I'll click this button, and down below you will see it'll populate. As you enter more revenues in here, this list will keep growing, and then at the very bottom it will do all of the math for you, showing you the total. If you make a mistake, over here is the gray box Edit View. You can always update things. Maybe this was incorrect and it was only 80 units. You can go ahead and update things. Or if you made a complete mistake, you can always delete a line as well. So I'd like to just show one more option here. Up at the top, PCA or CFSS. This time let's select PCA services and select a service code here. I want to also call out this other program revenues option. So if you serve individuals for something that is not PCA or CFSS, and you want to include those program revenues into the system, it's not necessary, but you definitely can do that. And you would put that under other program revenues. And again, we'll just do a little example here with some rounded figures. So an example of an other program revenue, maybe you do market rate transportation, or maybe you also operate an adult day program. These are not PCA CFSS services. You don't need to report any of those revenues, but if you want to, you have the option under other. I'm just going to create that. It'll do the math here. And then I can go ahead and click Save and Next to get onto the next page. From here, I'm going to stop sharing and pass this over to my colleague, Matt.
All right, wonderful. Thank you, Colleen. Good morning, everyone. Matt Grafsgaard, fellow member of the cost reporting team here at DHS. Just word of note, I've been experiencing some intermittent internet issues this morning, so I am going to be leaving my screen off, or my video off, but I will be sharing my screen here momentarily. Colleen, am I coming through okay on your end?
Yep, you're good. I'll stop you if it's choppy.
All right, wonderful. Thank you, Colleen. Again, everyone, Matt Grafsgaard, fellow reporting team here. Let's see if I can get this out of the way. There we go. Following the revenues page in our cost, well, first of all, thank you all for joining us. We appreciate you kind of attending and learning more about the system. And again, following the revenues page, you're going to be brought to the administrative and program support salaries, benefits, and allocations page. Forgive me if you can see these WebEx things here. I don't want to mess around too much and risk losing the video, so I apologize if you can see those. You will notice throughout the cost reporting system that a lot of the pages do look relatively similar to each other. You're going to have the name of your business or your report, the year you're reporting, the handy navigate function that lets you, flip between different sections of the report. The blue banner at the top is going to, again, state which page you're on, the information we're looking for, the link to the specific cost reporting page within our instruction manual where you can find additional information about what it is we're looking for, what we're asking for. The blue notes section, again, as Colleen mentioned on the previous page, this is where you can just add additional context. If you think something might be confusing or if there's additional information you want us to know, you can always use this notes function. All right, so scrolling down, getting into the page itself, the first question you're going to see is, do you have any administrative and program support salaries and wages to report for employees and or contractors? We do give you the option of selecting yes or no here. Again, maybe you are a smaller organization, who doesn't have, dedicated administrative staff. Maybe you are the owner operator and you kind of take on a lot of those roles yourself. And again, you don't have designated admin staff. We do give you the option to select yes, I do have admin staff, or no, I do not. For the sake of this example, we're just going to leave this as yes. But again, if you were to select no, you would just have the option to move right onto the next page and forego all of this information. But for the sake of the demonstration, we're going to leave this answer as yes. So scrolling down, select staff type. You have the option to enter an employee or a contractor. In preparation for the demonstration, I did add a few employees down here, but I do want to go through that process again just to see, so you can see what it looks like. So again, we are on the administrative page. So we're going to add an accountant who is an employee. Then under position type, you'll see this position type offers some drop-down options. We tried to cover the gamut of what, roles might be out there. If you have an administrative staff who maybe doesn't fall into one of these categories, just use your best judgment. Put them wherever you think they would fit best. But for our accountant, we're just going to say the position type is finance accounting. Total FTEs paid during the reporting period, that is full-time employees or full-time equivalents. This is asking how many people do you have in that role? So we just have one in our make-believe company here. Total salaries and wages. We're going to do, again, this is going to be very rounded figures throughout this demonstration. You are going to see us using very rounded figures. As Colleen and Dylan mentioned earlier, please, we want accurate figures. If you want to round to the nearest $1, that is totally fine. But when we start to see a lot of rounded figures, that becomes suspicious to us. So please be as accurate as possible. All right, so once you've entered the FTEs, total wages, you're going to click this blue create admin salaries page, create admin salaries and wages. You're going to see that person that accountant that we just created show up right down here. You'll see the benefits and payrolls section is blank as of right now. It's because we haven't entered any information yet. So we're going to, once we confirm that the information we entered here is correct, we're going to scroll to the right and see this blue benefits and payroll section. So once you click on that, this is where you start to enter information about, health insurance, dental insurance, vision, life insurance. These are all the taxes and benefits that will be coming out of the person's paycheck. So again, we see it's pretty often that we do see this section skipped over quite a bit. So that's a pretty big red flag for us if we see a employee enter that doesn't have, for example, Social Security and Medicare. That's a pretty common one we see. We will be unsubmitting your report and reaching out to you and just asking you to confirm whether that's accurate. So please be sure to not overlook the benefits and payroll section. So we're just going to throw in some, make-believe numbers here. Say 100, Social Security, Medicare. Again, that's the one that we see is skipped over a lot. Same with unemployment insurance tax. Workers' compensation, we can add something in here. You'll notice way at the bottom, the page will auto-calculate the totals for you, so you do not have to do that. So once you've confirmed, again, however you receive this or gather this information, it's completely up to you, whether it's your tax forms, whether you're looking at, W-2s for each employee, whether you refer to, your TurboTax kind of data, however you want to find it, just please make sure that all the information you enter with both the salaries and wages and the benefits is as accurate as possible. All right, so we've confirmed that amount is correct. We're going to click Save and Close. And then you will see that benefits and payroll information added right here. And then again, the total compensation, which is going to be the total salaries and wages plus the benefits and payroll that will auto-calculate for you. Scrolling to the right even further, you're going to see these two blank percentages. So Dylan mentioned earlier, you can allocate within the cost report throughout the entire cost reporting system. You can allocate how that person spent their time, whether it's an admin staff like we're working on right now, or whether it's a direct care staff, which we'll cover on the next page. So we're going to click into the allocation function here. All this is asking is, how did that accountant spend their time? I will say, just don't overthink it. If you have an accountant for your PCA organization that spends all of their time, 100% of their time working for your PCA CFSS Services Administration or PCA CFSS organization, feel free to put 100% here. If, for example, you provide non-PCA CFSS services like, aging, anything on the aging or elderly waiver, if you provide any DWRS services, you can allocate a portion of this accountant's time there. So again, for this example, we'll just say that this accountant spends 100% of their time for PCA CFSS. You'll see the total allocation amount populate right down here, and then we can click Save and Close, and you'll see those allocations show up here. Using this example here, again, you might have staff who need to perform some direct care. So like for this CFO that I had entered earlier, we're allocating 85% of their time to the administrative aspect of the business, but then, maybe they had to spend some of their time actually performing direct care. So we actually allocated 15% of that person's time to PCA CFSS services. Again, we just want to give you that flexibility in this day and age with, short staffing and whatnot. It might be that your administrative staff do need to occasionally work, provide direct care. So this is just a way for you to account for that and then allocate accordingly. All right, so once you've confirmed all of this information up here is correct, again, this is the accountant we just created here. If you have to make any edits, if you want to delete a line, you can most certainly do that. I'll mention this again on the next page about direct care wages, but if you have staff who maybe have the exact same role, if you have two separate maintenance people, maintenance staff, you can feel free to combine them onto one line up here. If you have a working job title for maintenance, the position type, housekeeping, janitorial, you can always put 2 FTEs here and then combine their salaries and wages. We just want to make it easy for you. So if you do have staff who provide the same or who perform the same job duties, you can definitely combine them. Right, scrolling down, you're going to see this section for administrative and program support salaries and wages for contractors. For the sake of time, we will not enter a new one in, but you do have that option. You can always select contractor up here, enter the information. For this maintenance person, again, maintenance contractors in our example are not going to have the benefits and payroll option. Typically, if you hire a contractor as a per diem or whatever it is, they'll, when it comes tax time, they'll typically just receive a 1099 form. And these people are generally not eligible for benefits, which is why we left this section blank. All right, then moving further to the right, again, there will be an allocation function We do want to give you the option to allocate this person's staff. So again, for this sake, we're gonna, excuse me, we're gonna allocate 85% of this maintenance person's time to the administrative duties, again, the housekeeping duties. And then maybe they spend some 15% of their time working at a different site for other home and community-based services. You know, you can again, we could have allocated a portion of their time to providing direct care, other HCBS services. If they have to provide any administrative duties unrelated to PCA CFSS, you have that option too. Again, I'll just say, don't overthink it. If you have a maintenance staff, again, if they provide all of the services at your office building or in the homes or wherever, you know, wherever they provide their services, you know, it very well could be that they just have 100% here for PCA CFSS services. So we're going to click save and close. That information will save here. Again, we understand that allocations can be tricky. We receive quite a few questions each year about the allocations. So if you're uncertain, if you want to run something by our team, you know, please feel free to email us and we'll be happy to work through it. All right, at the bottom, you'll see this totals section. It will auto-calculate everything for you. So total salaries and wages for your employees are going to be on the left. Total salaries and wages for your contractors will be on the right. And then as we scroll down, you're going to see this text box down here. So it says, describe your methodology for allocating costs from administrative and program support salaries, wages to each cost pool. That's a mouthful, but basically what it's asking is, we're asking you to provide some additional documentation as to how you determined, you know, how your staff spent their time. You know, how did you allocate? What did you use? Did you use their time cards? Do you have a separate tracking system for determining how they spent their time? This is just asking you to provide some additional context. So for example, I'll just enter, you know, we tracked employees' time cards to determine how they spent their time. It could be something very simple like that. We just track time cards. So once you've entered this information and confirmed everything is correct, you're going to click save and next. And that will bring you to the direct care and supervisor wages page. Again, the general outline of the page is going to be very similar. You know, asking, you know, what we're asking for, navigate function, notes function, link to the instruction manual page about direct care supervisor wages. I will call out, you'll see that we don't have the option for a yes, no. You know, we don't, like on the previous page, if you recall, we asked, do you have any administrative staff? We don't offer that option here. For obvious reasons, you know, if you don't have direct care staff, chances are you're not a functioning business, PCA CFSS business. So we take away that option and we jump right into selecting the staff type. Again, I have pre-filled some staff down here, but I want to show you again how that looks. So we're going to add an employee who is a direct care staff. You're going to have this position type, you know, whether they're a supervisor or a direct care worker. We'll just say direct care worker. We're going to enter, you know, their regular hours worked and then, or the wages and payments plus the affiliated number of hours worked. You can add additional content or wages here too for overtime, holiday, vacation, sick, paid time off, bonus incentive, things like that. And then I want to call out too, once you get to the bonus incentive line here, you're not going to have the option to add hours. That is purposeful. That was our system was designed, you know, purposefully with that. Typically, if there's a bonus incentive provided, there might not be, or there probably wouldn't be like an affiliated number of hours worked. So we just take away that functionality. All right, it is going to total up the total wages and payments and the total hours. I mentioned on the previous page, if you have a bunch of direct care staff who, you know, have the same job title, perform the same job functions, you know, things like that, you can most certainly combine all of them onto one line. You know, if you have 50 direct care staff, we don't want you to have to feel like you have to enter 50 different lines. You can combine them. Just make sure that the total wages and total hours worked is reflective of those, we'll say 50 staff or whatever it might be. So feel free to combine, but again, just make sure that the hours and wages amounts are accurate. So once we've entered all of this information, you're going to scroll down and click the create direct care wages. you'll see that this direct care staff, again, we're on the employees section, but you can't enter contractors. But for the employees section, our direct care staff that we just entered is right here. Total wages, total wages and payments. Very similar to the previous page, you're going to have to enter benefits and payroll, which we'll do. We'll just, again, we're entering very rounded and unrealistic numbers, but for this, again, we're just in a demonstration now, but please be as accurate as possible. We will not be forgetting the Social Security and Medicare, federal and state unemployment taxes. We're going to be sure to enter both of those. And the total benefit and payroll amount is going to auto-populate or auto-calculate, excuse me, so you don't have to do that. We're going to click Save and Close. You'll see the total benefits and payroll amount automatically populate here for a total compensation amount. Again, please be sure to allocate. So we're going to say with this direct care staff, this single direct care staff, we're just going to say that they spend, 90% of their time actually providing PCA CFSS direct care, but we do offer other options too. So if you want to allocate the other 10% to enhance PCA supervisory roles, program plan support. Again, if you have to do any tasks related to direct care that isn't exactly direct care, again, like writing a support plan or writing goals or, things like that, you can always enter a portion of their time into program plan support. If this direct care staff, for whatever reason, has to, go into the office and provide help with some administrative tasks, we can say that they're going to spend 10% of their time doing that. Then the total allocation down here will auto-populate similarly to the rest of the system. So again, the allocations, again, I've said it before, I'll say it again, they can be really tricky. I'll just say, don't overthink it. If you have staff who just work directly with the people you support, please feel free to enter 100% here. Just use your best judgment as to how they spend their time. On our cost reporting cost reporting homepage on our actual, cost reporting website, we do offer, there is a time study sheet that you can use, which basically it allows you, ask you to enter employee information for a couple of weeks, just so you can determine how they're actually spending their time. And then you can use that as a guide when it comes to allocating your costs and your time. All right, so once we've confirmed allocation is correct, we're going to click Save and Close. You'll see that this direct care staff we just entered, 90% is going directly to direct care, 10% is going to go to administrative. We're going to scroll down further. It's going to be similar to the previous page. This is just going to be for contractors down here. You'll notice we do take away the benefits and payroll option, similar to on the admin page. So we take that away. Entering a contractor is going to be very similar. We'll just say direct care staff. I do want to call out, you'll see that for contractors, you cannot have direct care staff, staff be contractors. You can have a direct care supervisor who is a contractor, but you cannot have direct care staff themselves be contractors. So we'll just say, to alleviate any confusion, we'll just say a supervisor. Okay, and then we're going to enter their wages and payments. We'll just say 2,000. You'll notice that a lot of the other options for bonuses, incentives, overtime pay, things like that are taken away. And it just has payments and then non-hourly payments. So we're going to click the Create Direct Care Wage. You'll see that direct care supervisors show up down here. We're just going to say that that person spent 100% of their time supervising staff providing PCA CFSS services. So we'll keep this one simple, 100% of their time going there. Allocation is 100%, Save and Close. You'll see that allocation reflected here. Again, if you need to make any changes, edit view button. If you need to delete a line and start over, you have that option here. Similarly to the previous page, employees are going to subtotal over here. Contractors are going to be on this side. Describe your methodology. How did you track how your employees spend their time? So we'll just say something simple like we track time cards. Again, however much context you want to add to how you track your time, this is a mandatory section down here. So you will need to enter something, but something simple like we track time cards is sufficient. So once we've confirmed everything on this page is correct, we're going to click Save and Next. See, that might take a minute to load. And Dylan, Colleen, if I'm experiencing any internet issues, I might have to hand back to you if this isn't going to load. And again, I apologize, everyone. I've had some internet issues this morning, so please bear with me. Actually, we can just try this instead.
Good.
Let's see. Actually, we'll just try this again. Once you click Save and Next, you will be brought to the other benefits page. Again, we're working in an internal system, so hopefully some of this functionality isn't an issue for you in the audience. So following the direct care page, you are brought to the other benefits page. So I want to call out too that this section of the cost report collects information about the costs or of benefits offered by an organization that cannot be tied directly to individual employees. It says organizations most often pay these types of benefits as an aggregate amount or a single line item. And again, just makes the note that total allocations have to equal 100%. So this other benefits page, we don't want you to think of things like retirement or health insurance health insurance or vision or anything like that. That's separate. This is for things like, if you have a magazine subscription for your office, or if you offer sporting event tickets for any employee to use, like, whether it's Twins tickets or Vikings tickets or whatever it is, you can enter those here. So we're just going to say yes, that we do have other benefits, and we'll go with like a magazine subscription. Again, if you're not certain if something should be counted as an other benefit, or whether something you offer is indeed an other benefit, or if it should be put somewhere else in your report, just please feel free to send us an email. We can offer some guidance there. So we'll just say $150 for a magazine subscription, and we'll say we're going to allocate 50% to PCA CFSS services, and we'll say 50% to the services administration. We'll say the tickets are available for both your admin staff and your the magazine subscription is available for both your admin staff and your direct care staff. We'll just do an even split, 50-50 for the total allocation. You'll see the total allocation auto-populates over here. That's going to ask you to describe the nature. So something simple, like we purchase a magazine subscription. Then it's going to ask you for describing your methodology for allocating costs. Just something like that. So this benefit is split evenly between admin and direct care staff. And then so that tells us what it is and how you allocated it. So again, other benefits, these really aren't that common. You might have them, you might not. I want to reiterate too that this is separate from health insurance, retirement benefits, things like that. Those will go on the previous page. Other benefits, again, magazine subscriptions, if you offer maybe an employee assistance program that's available to everyone, things like that could be included on this other benefits page, but again, not that common. All right, we'll see if the save and next. Oh, cool, it worked. All right, so following the other benefits page, you are brought to the client programming and support costs page. Again, very similar. What we're looking for, link to the instruction manual, notes section, navigate section, or navigate function. It's going to ask here, do you have any client programming and support costs to report? My assumption would be that yes, a lot of you in the audience will probably have these costs. It's going to be things like supplies and equipment, agency-owned lease vehicle costs. I know earlier in the presentation, Dylan mentioned transportation. So if you have any agency-owned or lease vehicles, mileage reimbursement, public transportation costs for staff, mileage reimbursements, or other client programming support costs, things like that. Again, if you're not certain where a specific client programming support cost should go, or if indeed something you offer should even be put here, please feel free to email us. We'll be happy to provide some guidance. So for the sake of this, we're going to have $150 to supplies and equipment. Again, maybe your organization purchases, coloring books or, other supplies that are written in a person's support plan. And that cost is 100% attributable to PCA CFSS services. We're going to enter 100% here. Total allocation will auto-populate. Going down a little bit further, again, in our make-believe cost report, we'll say $225 mileage reimbursement for non-program transportation. Again, this might be for your admin staff if you have to ever provide mileage reimbursement to admin staff. We can provide, we can enter 100% here, or for all other administration. If it's for your PCA CFSS business, we would put 100% there. Again, things like public transportation, mileage reimbursement for in-program transportation. Again, you'll see both non-program and in-program. Non-program is unrelated to service delivery. In-program is, for any staff, if you have staff driving the people you support around the community, that would be in-program because it is directly attributable to the services you're providing. Other client programming support costs, if you have a cost maybe that doesn't fit into any of these other sections, you can always enter that here. If you do enter a cost down here under other client programming support costs, it's going to ask you what it is. So for our example here, again, you'll see that the total cost will auto calculate for you. Describe your methodology. Again, you're going to see this little section on most pages. Just, we're asking you to provide some additional context as to what you entered, how you allocated it. And then for this one, if you do not have a cost here under other client programming support costs, that very well could be, but again, for the sake of this example, we'll just say that we bought fidget toys for our participants, the people you support. You'll just want to make sure to allocate whatever that is accordingly. So again, it very well could be that fidget toys that we're just going to allocate 100% of that to the PCA CFSS service function. And then we'll take away this 50% over here for administrative. All right, so once we've entered everything, and I apologize for the scrolling, once we've entered everything on the client programming and support costs page, we're going to click Save and Next. And that brings us to the general and administrative costs page, and I'll pass it back to my colleague Colleen here in a second. But what I do want to make a call out to, over the last few months, ever since the reporting period has opened, we've received a few questions related to just the transition from PCA to CFSS and how that's taken a while. We understand that some of you in the audience maybe have not fully transitioned to providing CFSS services. That's okay. We are still just asking you to report costs. If you just made the transition within the last, couple of months, you might be wondering, how are we supposed to report on CFSS services if we just recently made the transition? You can report on your PCA services too. So again, going back to 2024, before the CFSS transition, you can definitely report on those too. So I just wanted to make that call out. If you're not certain, again, we're more than happy to answer anything via email too. All right, so with that, Colleen, I will pass it back to you. And again, thanks to everyone for showing up today.
Well, thank you, Matt, and thank you, everyone. I'll share my screen again here. Oh. Can you all see this?
Yes, we can.
Okay.
Yep.
Hold on. All right, is that better? Can we see that?
Yep, that looks good, Colleen.
Okay, great. Thank you. So we are on the last major page here of the system, which is the general and administrative costs. So again, you have the blue text up top that talks about what we are looking for on the page, as well as the link to the instruction manual. And there is also, again, that dark blue notes button if you would like to add a note for us. Now, this page of the program is to try to capture all of those other type of just general business costs that you have not already reported in the report so far. So this is going to be typically all of your admin related costs. One thing to call out, if you are a residential type program, you should not include mortgage, lease, or rent costs in this. For the homes where your program participants are living, that would be typically reimbursed through something different. What we mean by mortgage, lease, and rent cost on this page would be if you have an admin building for your administrative staff to work out of. That type of lease, we do want the costs for that, but Just wanted to call that out here. So again, general and administrative costs, all of those business costs. This page is not optional. We expect if you are a business, you are going to have at least one business cost, right? So this page is not optional. We do have some providers that get a little confused with this page and think that they need to enter something on every single line of this page. That's not necessary. We just want to know what are your specific business costs. And we did try to list out as many different types of costs that we could think of, but not every business is going to have all of these options or these costs here. So just enter the ones that you have. And again, we're looking for specific numbers. Look at your receipts, look at the things that you have saved, your spreadsheets, your taxes and whatnot to get the exact numbers for these. So let's go ahead and add some examples here. So maybe you have attorney fees, you pay for an attorney. Put that cost in here. Again, you want this specific number. And then these percentages here, again, it's an allocation. So if you can see up top, there's PCA, self-direction. Again, this goes back to if you answered that yes question I mentioned at the very beginning about if you offer FMS services for self-direction, this would show up. If you had selected no, this wouldn't be an option here. And then all other. So you want to do your allocations here as well. So in this example, I have an attorney fee. Maybe it was specific to my business and not necessarily just the PCA part. So we could put 100% to other. Maybe we had an annual conference though, and that cost was for our PCA direct care workers. We would put 100% to the PCA Services Administration. All of these other types of examples. Do you have office supplies? I bet everyone does. So let's put a couple of examples in here. Do you have lobbying costs, fundraising costs? Like I said, we tried to include a lot of different options here. So put in all of those extra costs. And like I said, we expect, there to be at least one business expense in here. And I can guarantee all of you would at least have this one here, which is background checks and fingerprinting. I know that's a requirement. It costs a lot of money as well. Put that cost in here. We really want to know the true costs it takes for you to operate your business. So again, lots of options here. If you have some costs and they don't really fit into any of these boxes, again, there's another option. You can put in that other cost here, do the allocations, and then a box down below will populate that says describe what those other costs are. So put a description here of that other cost. We want to know what it actually is. Your total will auto-populate here. And then again, there's this box about describing your methodology for how you did your allocations. It can be as simple as saying, we looked at our saved receipts to see where the money was going. Again, at the bottom of the page here, you have your Save and Next button. Make sure you're saving your work. I want to call out this page. You're putting a lot of information on this page, and it might take a minute to load. So give it a little time. Don't back off, refresh the page. Just give it a minute. Make sure it gets onto the next page and saves your work. So once we're done with that general and administrative costs page, you are brought to the cost report summary. So this is the summary page of all of the information you've entered into your report so far. We do ask that you click the calculate button once you get to this page to make sure it grabs everything that you've just entered into the system. So hit that calculate button. You'll see this purple loading bar to see the progress, to make sure it's grabbing all of the information. Give it a couple of minutes. Like I said, it's getting a lot of information here. Once that loading bar is complete, you can scroll through and just kind of double check some of the numbers, make sure everything looks right. And if you would like to print a copy of this report for your records, there is the print button here where you can print a copy of this now. I'm going to scroll to the bottom of the page here. So it's a lot of information we're scrolling through. You will see this grand total. It's kind of a fun number to look at. So you can see your total costs that you've entered in here, and then specifically broken out into those different allocation buckets. So next I'm going to hit Save and Next, which brings you to the provider submission page. So I'm going to just reiterate, like I said at the very beginning, only that initial authorized agent account will be able to access this page and be able to submit. So if you get to this page and you do not see this blue submit button, it means you are not logged in with that authorized agent account. And you should go back to your authorized agent so they can log in, double check your work, and then get to this page and submit the report. So once you're here, you'll need to check the box on the left-hand side to certify that the information you've submitted is complete, true, and accurate. And then you'll be able to submit the report here. Once you hit submit, you'll have a confirmation. And I just want to quick navigate back to the dashboard just to show you how it will go down into that report submitted status. So if you're wondering, oh, did I submit my report? I can't remember. One, you can always email us and we can look it up. Or you can log back in and just check if your report's down here in the submitted status. Good job, your report's in submitted status. I just want to quick call out, reminder, we have the Q&A function here. So put some questions in there. We will go through those now. This is kind of the end of the demonstration of the system, so I can stop sharing my screen. And then I also saw a question here asking about what those email notifications look like. So these will be sent directly to authorized agents. In addition, we do various drops through your minute inbox, and it will just be kind of an abbreviated version of those full emails. So I'm going to just quick share just like a Word document copy of what that looks like. Hold on one second. Okay, so this is an example here of what that email might look like. Again, this is just a Word document copy of it, but it will say, Dear provider, typically that'll be your name. Why did I receive this notice? It basically just goes into like, this is the cost report for your business. You're required to submit. Here's the deadline. Here's the statute that we're referencing. And then we always have a link to the instruction manual and our email. So again, if you have questions about any of these notifications, send us an email. When you email us, it's very, very helpful also if you include your business name and the FEIN if we need to look up your account. And it just makes things a little bit easier for us because we are working with so many different providers. If we know your business name and the FEIN right away, it can help us expedite a response to you. So that's what I have. I see Dylan typing away, answering some questions. So if you want to hop off and kind of walk through them verbally.
Sure. Hello, everyone again. I've been answering your questions in the chat. We've now reached the end of our demonstration. So please, by all means, ask us questions in the Q&A function right now. As long as you have questions, we will keep answering them. I'll just go through some of the ones that have already come in, and then I'll talk through them verbally here in case you can't see the questions. Is there a phone contact that agencies can call about cost reporting? Unfortunately, no. We only have, again, 3.5 staff people working on cost reporting for both DWRS and CFSS. And sorry, my cat is jumping on me right as I give this discussion. We included our email address in the chat. Again, it's dhs.costreport@state.mn.us. There is a possibility one day down the line we will have a phone number and a call center that you can call, but unfortunately right now we cannot offer that one-on-one technical assistance over the phone. And honestly, it's probably more helpful for all of you all to have our responses written out over email. Um, so just please email us with any specific questions for your business. I misspoke earlier about where in the MPSE portal your communications would come from. The minutes messages that we send out to providers, those get routed to a specific NPI, I believe, underneath an FEIN. If you have been selected for cost reporting, you should see the minutes memos directly addressed to you about being required to do cost reporting. We also email the authorized agent that we have on file or the managing employee if you've been selected. If you haven't received a communication from us about cost reporting, chances are you have not been selected, but if it's still probably a good idea to check. However, we do send out minutes messages to all providers as that kind of fail safe that they have been selected. Okay. We have a couple different types of cost reporting out there. There's DWRS and CFSS, and then Aging Services is also coming online with a cost reporting program in the near future, probably next couple of years. As of right now, we can only handle one login per system per business. We can't do like one login that can apply to all the different cost reportings. It is something that we are trying to work on with our software vendor. I don't have a good reason why we don't have that functionality. It's just an unfortunate reality that we currently don't. And I hope that we do make things easier on everybody and have that single login in the future. And if we do, we will be sure to notify all providers about that. There's a couple questions in which we're asking for some specific information from you all. There's a question from Fua Ferguson in here. If we submit a report by the deadline, but there are questions that DHS has, are we able to work with the provider to fix those issues? The answer is yes. And for those who may not know, we do screen all incoming cost reports for really common issues. We've identified some of them in this webinar earlier. Namely, like we look to see if there's like really important missing information like benefits and payroll taxes, and we also have a few other checks as well. If we have questions about your cost report, we may unsubmit it and reach out to you directly. This is not punitive. We are not trying to punish you at all. We are just trying to work with you to figure something out. And if we are wrong and your cost report is absolutely correct and we unsubmitted it for the wrong reason, you can let us know that and go and submit it again. We'll still work with you. That being said, if you try to submit a cost report on November 31st and it gets flagged for issues, we are required to suspend your payments, and we will still work with you to figure things out and get your payments resumed as quickly as possible. But we are obligated under statute to pause payments for any report received after, or excuse me, not received before December 1st. Let's see. Is the cost reporting program annually or every 5 years? It's complicated, and there are two different timelines that we're talking about here. For DWRS cost reporting, there is a 5-year cycle. Every DWRS provider has to do a cost report within 1 year of that 5-year cycle. In CFSS, the program is slightly different. It's once in a 3-year cycle. So if you do a cost report for CFSS this year, you will not be doing it for the next 2 years of the cycle. We then randomly select every year within a cycle. So after the first 3 years, you may report in the first year of the next 3-year cycle. You may report in the last year of the 3-year cycle. So that's a complex way of saying it's not necessarily that you report once every 3 years. It's once within a 3-year cycle. And if you have further questions about that, you can certainly email us. but we are collecting data every single year. It just may not be from your organization. There's a specific question there about regarding revenues that we receive for that particular HCPCS code for all insurance, or should we report only MA? We are asking for all costs that you have for doing your CFSS business. As of right now, I'm not aware of any restriction based on which type of insurance is paying for that CFSS service. I would be a little surprised if there's a lot of private insurance spending, but there certainly could be. We are still asking that you just report all costs. Another question, will you send us confirmation that you received a cost report? I think the system does not send a confirmation email, unfortunately. That being said, if you are in the submission page and you see like your cost report has been submitted, I can promise you your cost report has been submitted. You can print out that page for your records. I believe there's the option to print out the summary page as well. So you'll be able to have a record of what you submitted to us. If we have any questions about it, we will be sure to reach out to you. You will not be left in the dark wondering what's going on. Just unfortunately, that one weird situation, just the system just can't send like an email being like, congratulations, you submitted this. It's just that one page. Charita Terrell, you asked a question about having only been in business for 6 months. If you have only been in business 6 months, please reach out to us about your cost report. Chances are you're correct that you will have very little to report, and we need a full year's worth of data. We may have you report next year based on your responses to our questions. So again, please email us directly, and we'll work with you to figure out if you should report this year or report next year. For those businesses that have like just started, we may just move you to a different year when you need to report. How do I know it's my year to report? We've mentioned this a few times now. We will contact your authorized agent on file, the authorized agent that was designated in your MPSE portal. We will also send minutes messages to your organization saying it's your year to report and remind you of all the deadlines. If you have not received an email and have not noticed any messages in your minutes messages from us, chances are you do not have to report. If you're really concerned about it, please email us. All right. I am happy to stay on and continue answering questions. It is 11:30. Does anybody else have a question that they would like to throw into the Q&A? Thank you for your questions. I'm just going to just freestyle a little bit for just like a moment here as we kind of wait to see if any other questions come in. Let me just say once more, please Google CFSS cost reporting. If you do that, our overview page will come up, our frequently asked questions page will come up, our instruction manual will come up. Those are all really valuable resources. We highly recommend that you refer to them while doing your cost report. We also, if you have any feedback on the resources that we provide, if you would like something different, if there's something that we could do to improve the program from your end, please let us know. We're proud of the work that we do. We also recognize that it's not perfect and we can always work to improve things. So please give us that feedback if you have any. We're happy to push more resources out there. It may not be right away, but we'll certainly address your questions and try to get you anything that you need for cost reporting. Let's see. I highly recommend that you refer to our allocations page within the manual. If you have never done a cost report before, a lot of people have questions about how to do that. I recommend that you check that out. We often get questions about hiring consultants to do a cost report for you. You're allowed to do that. You can designate anybody as a cost report preparer in the system and give access to whomever you want to work on your cost report. Just please note that we at DHS cannot recommend any particular vendor or consultant to help you with that. It's just if for liability reasons, we can't make any recommendations, but we can say that some providers out there do use consultants, and it's totally fine if you choose to do that. I'm trying to think of any other common questions that we get. If you have any login issues, another limitation of our system is that if you don't log in for 90 days, I believe that the system resets or makes you reset your password. So if you have login issues, if you haven't signed in already, that's probably a reason why. Any login issues whatsoever that you have, please reach out to us over email. Those are usually pretty easy for us to resolve. Let's see what else. The data that you provide will go to the legislature. It's all aggregated. And in the future, probably towards the end of the first 3-year cycle of CFSS cost reporting, we'll likely do a report to the legislature on our findings overall about cost reporting. Stay tuned on that type of info. If we release a report on cost reporting findings, I think we'll let providers know about that, perhaps in like our e-lists, something like that. Okay, there have been no other questions that have come in, so I think we will go ahead and end this meeting. Thank you so much for attending. And again, do not forget to email us. Don't forget our email address. It's dhs.costreport@state.mn.us. We are happy to answer any and all questions that you have about cost reporting. With that, good luck with your cost reports. And yeah, have a great day.
Thank you, everyone.